Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Hopefully you guys are all having a fantastic day. Today's upload is going to be about the threat for another couple of Pacific hurricanes developing before even July hits, so in the next couple of weeks. And if you're wondering, I did make a video about this, but I deleted it because it's still too far out and I didn't want to overhype anything, so I just ended up deleting it. But before we get further into this, like always, like I say every time, please consider subscribing. Helps out a lot. If you want to, you could also hit the like button, and you could also hit the post notification bell icon. Notifies you every time I make a video. That's really up to you. But moving forward, most of the models are agreeing with this. Oh, sorry, I need to fix the microphone. So, most of the models are agreeing with this, and that's what's leading me to say that this will most likely at least develop one borderline tropical storm, hurricane storm system, and if not, couple of those. So the Pacific season, as of now, seems to be very active, while the Atlantic is fairly quiet, actually. Last year, we already had, I think, Sydney developing right now. We don't even have a B or a C state named storm yet in the Atlantic, so we're still far behind, but again, this is not the peak of the season. It could still very quickly catch up. We'll need to start really looking an eye out for the Atlantic in July, late July and early August. And that August is the peak, and September, so those are months. But for the Pacific, it's about a couple months earlier, so right now it's starting to reach its pretty fair active point, and of course it's not the peak yet, but moving forward you can see there's just a bunch of waves here associated with a bunch of low pressures are just coming off the Amazon rainforest in Brazil and South America. So some of these tropical little waves try developing into some lows. You can see this one's a failure. Nothing develops out of it, but the other ones have more favorable conditions. If we keep moving forward, the GFS has this system developing fairly late, while the CMC and the European model, this is the thing, guys. These models aren't all agreeing on the same system. They are agreeing, though, that there will be some sort of system developing. So that's what leads me to think that there will be most likely a hurricane developing some point or another in the next 2 weeks. However, which one? Because see, look, the GFS shows this one occurring. You can see fairly strong 977, 972, 971, 966. That is decent-sized storm, and that is July 6th, while the European model has it developing June 26th, a different storm. So this is, they're just not agreeing on the same storm, but they are agreeing about the fact that there will be some sort of tropical development. So this does weaken later on, you can see, but this is as far out as it goes. And there's even, you can see a second one trying to develop here, and we don't know whether that one will develop way too far out. And I'm not going to get into the details about this because it's just so far out. So now let's go to the ECMWF. This is also a very reliable weather model, and let's go forward. You can see it has a storm already developing at 1:20, June 26th, and the GFS doesn't. So this could be a little small hurricane system that eventually dies off. Here's another one that could be forming right here, but this is only the beginning phases and only at hour 240. So you can see that European model is putting out a similar system, a different system way earlier out, while it is putting out a second system towards where the GFS is putting out. So I think this system may be just one, and they're sort of agreeing on it. Now let's go to some more models that are fairly accurate models. So you can see, again, this is the CMC, aka known as the Canadian model, or the GEM, G-E-M, also another name for this. And you can see June 26th, it has some sort of system developing, and that does strengthen and does seem to go on. But you can see the CMC also has a system developing right along here, and a third one just like the GFS. So the models are in really high agreement, and this really does not happen that often. This rarely happens. So that's what leads me to think that if it's so far out and the models are so closely agreeing to each other, this must mean something. And at this point, what this leads me to think is that there will be some sort of tropical system or even a hurricane developing in the next 2 weeks, and that's what I really wanted to get out there. There is a potential for a tropical system developing, even a hurricane. If you're wondering how much total accumulated precip there's going to fall, let's go model by model. 240. Again, these numbers may seem amazingly high, magnificent, but this part of the world, it's really used to seeing this much. I mean, no one lives in the Eastern Pacific. It's really just off the coast of Mexico. There's not even, I don't think there's even major islands off here. And you can see there, that's 2 feet, 3 feet of rain, which may seem like a lot, but this is just basically just a river of energy of rain all throughout the year. So they get a lot of rain here, but this is a little bit above average. Don't get me wrong. This is according to the CMC. Let's go to the GFS. A little bit less towards the 240 hours, but then afterwards it really ranks it up, and you can see again a little bit above average due to the hurricanes or the tropical storm systems. Now let's go. I don't know if the European model shows total accumulated precip. Yeah, it doesn't. That's what I thought. But I would also now like to show you what the name will be if this storm would develop. Previous video, which it's now deleted. I thought it would be Carlota, the sea storm, but that already happened. So even if this were to develop, this would be Daniel. This storm would be Daniel, and you can see these were all the ones that were used so far. And the one that would be next would be Daniel, then Emilia, then Fabio, and then Gilma. So all these storms are, you know, up next in the line. So I do think Daniel will form in the next 2 weeks at least. So that is definitely, we'll need to keep watching. I was going to actually show you the MSLP height wind. So let's go to the GFS and let's go to MSLP and 10 meter winds, which basically shows you the wind speed at 10 meters per hour, 10 meters altitude. And you can see not really much going on. Here's this low that starts developing. Sorry about that again. It starts developing, and you can see it quickly ramps up into pretty big system. The reds indicate something along 50 miles per hour sustained, but that is not. So miles per hour, that would be somewhere almost hurricane force winds. So again, this is close to a hurricane, but we don't really know this far out. It could still change. And I could show you this, what the CMC is showing, but that is in, yeah, so that's 10 meter wind, and it only goes out this far, but you can see it's really starting to strengthen here, and already has winds at 52 miles per hour, because this is in knots, this would be around 40, so 50-60 miles per hour. And the European model, unfortunately, doesn't have the wind speeds. It only has cyclonic vorticity, which basically shows you how much spin it has. And the knots, I'm not sure if this is actually the knots, the colors. I might be, but it just might be the vorticity. But I'll need to look into that. But if this is the wind, if this is the wind in the vorticity shown right here, so you can see that dark, that's 45-50 knots. So that is fairly high. And that is basically it, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is basically it. Not going to be a long video because there's not much to talk about when it comes to these tropical systems that are still far out. They're not really going to occur in the next 2 days, 3 days. So there's not really anyone that needs to prepare this, because these hurricanes most likely won't make landfall anywhere. Not in Mexico, not in Central America, not in the Baja Peninsula, which is Mexico, but not in, not in California for sure. Not maybe some moisture, but associated with this system, but nothing in particular to be worried about. This is just a cool little thing I wanted to show you. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to my channel. Please consider liking the video. Keep your eyes to the sky. And thank you guys. See you guys on the next